not real. None of what we say is real. None of what you are is real.
That was another thing that was in the podcast earlier. He was saying that politicians actually need to have consequences. So, like...
Oh, yeah, I saw that part.
Yeah, I really resonated with that, because cops would.
Yeah.
If they're like, this is the things we have to do, and we're not upheld by it. Like, somebody gets fired, somebody something.
Yeah.
Politicians, like, I'm pretty sure, like, if I'm running for president, and I get up there, and I say, like, look, I'm going to make tigers legal for everybody. I'm going to give everybody a tiger.
Yeah, you should be able to hold people accountable for their word.
Right, and then I get president, and I'm like, obviously that was a joke.
Yeah, no, it should be held as a verbal contract. My vote to you is that verbal contract that you made with me. You know?
There should be some kind of consequence,
yeah,
especially if the consequences are dire. That's what he was saying. It's like, oh yeah, let's just go start a war in this country, and
yeah, that's true.
We've now murdered 1 million people. I'm probably going to prison.
I think everyone except for the politicians would be for writing a good law about that. Like, I think everybody would be. And guess what? There wouldn't be that many term limits because people are like, man, I'm
that would actually encourage you to get in, get that money, make a difference for the country, and get the fuck out. Which is what should happen anyway. We need a bunch of young, fresh people that are up with the task to do stuff like this.
Yeah, they need to. We definitely need to get rid of.
We're sticking all our young people in these remedial positions of like just whatever.
I understand that you need to have seniority of some sort. Like, you need some age on you. Because, I mean, I feel like 5 years ago I was so much more of a fucking idiot than I am right now, and I'm still pretty dumb. But, like, 5 years ago I was significantly worse, you know? And, I mean, I can just imagine in 10 years I would have a better viewpoint on the world, but that doesn't need to be the only viewpoint on the world. Like, that viewpoint isn't right. Just because you're old doesn't mean you're right. So we do need some fresh people in there. Not like AOC, but somebody who's actually going to like talk about issues and actually going to talk about stuff and not just be hyperbolic scream.
The real danger is that the next generation might be predominantly AOCs. If everyone gets so polarized, because that's what a lot of people are freaked out about, saying like Civil War and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I don't like about her. She's so polarizing. That's the best word.
These people end up. Well, that's the thing. Like, the argument is that she might not be able to help it. She might just literally be this way, and it's part of the generation. Because there's like, there's stuff that old people do that you're like, why the fuck? Why do all old people do this?
Yeah.
Well, that might be one of those generational things where like, and it might be the effect of too much TV or whatever.
I hope not, man.
Like too much
talking
on the phone to your friends. And
I mean, maybe there's going to be a subset of people
spreading
like that.
rumors in middle school as a girl or whatever.
Well, it's like the Green New Deal is absolutely trash. Like, there isn't even, they're like, oh, the Green New Deal. It doesn't have any specific ways of how anything is going to actually happen. It's just a list of goals that are absurd.
It was basically just spend a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah. Give the government all the money, please. And, okay, so there's that. She's pro that. But, like, even when she just talks, just in general, it's always some petty bullshit. And she's always just talking about just, like, inflammatory issues and talking down to people like they're just stupid as fuck. It's okay to talk down to people as a politician sometimes, because sometimes somebody needs to be talked down to. But hers, I feel like, is always coming from a position of authority and like...
Like, what is the saying? It's like, if everyone around you is an asshole all day, you're the asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
But that if you experience an asshole during the day, he was probably just an asshole. But if you're just only experiencing assholes all day,
yeah.
It's probably you.
Yeah, you're the asshole.
Why does she have so many problems with everybody?
Yeah, because she's the asshole. She also needs to stay relevant. She needs to stay poppy and relevant. And, I mean, people love when she gets up there and says ridiculous shit because people like ridiculous shit. But, like, it's all personal politics, too. Like, she'll get into, like, talking about her personal life with politicians and stuff. And it's like, dude, shut up and write laws. Like, can you just all just shut the fuck up and write some laws? Isn't that your fucking job? Have we all forgotten that you got to actually make policy? Yeah. And here's what's happened. They're holding us fucking hostage. You do. You forget. You know why? Because they don't pass laws. They make laws, argue about them, come to an irreconcilable difference, and then send it to the fucking Supreme Court once one gets a majority over something. And then it's just like, how about you pass laws? You go through stuff and actually do shit and be able to talk between each other like two fucking human beings. That's why people are so fucking just talking out their ass all the time when they're all left or they're all right and Trump's all bad, Biden's all good, Biden's all bad, Trump's all good. It's like, no, they're all pieces of shit. Everybody that is making our laws right now is a piece of shit. They're getting nothing done. They only want to serve to their most extreme people because those are the people that vote. They realized that the only people that used to vote, I feel like now it's going to become a bigger thing for people to vote, and they're going to have to start maybe normalizing out. But they have to force people, or the crazy people force them to be crazy because not enough normal motherfuckers are voting. Because if every normal motherfucker was voting, and all these people who, because your average American is normal, then if all of us start voting, then we won't get so supercharged candidates. Everybody's like, why do we have these two choices? Why do we only have blue Trump, red Trump? You know, it's like they're both fucking basically the same person. Like,
I think it's funny that the left's thing is Biden when, like, isn't he pretty much historically a moderate?
We'll get into that. So fucking all these people are saying all this bunch of bullshit. But like, it's our fucking fault. We've allowed this to happen. Those candidates are reflective of their voter base because that's what politicians do. That's how this whole thing works, is the person who is the most popular and serves the most people's wants gets put in charge. So obviously the people's wants are so extreme. We have such big pieces of shit because the only people that are voting are these pieces of shit because nobody normal votes. Like, or at least before, most people didn't vote. Or most people didn't make their things heard.
I don't think it's going to change that much.
I think it is. I think it's going to...
There's going to be a higher turnout?
I think there's going to be a giant fucking turnout after the mail-in ballots and all this bunch of bullshit can go through. I mean, there was stories about like people getting like 6 and 7 ballots at their houses and like...
I got
I don't know anything about
an unsolicited ballot.
Yeah.
I got one.
I think Nikki did.
I threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to the place. I'm doing it.
Yeah. I'm just voting in person.
I mean, okay, we live in a smaller city.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
In Vermont.
Yeah.
But, like, it's, you know, when we go to vote, like, you've been to vote, it's like there's a small group of people, and there's not really even a line.
There's no
line.
line.
There's plenty of space for everybody to not get up on each other.
Even,
it's all old people.
Yeah.
You know, mainly.
Even then.
So they're all wearing masks and all decked out in hazmat suits. And
I went to Walmart today. And I stood in line. And I had my mask on, everybody else did. And I was around way more people than I'm going to be voting for today. Or when I go to vote.
Right.
Today I was with too many people. Too many people to be safely in an area for COVID, though,
like,
right?
Look, COVID is like the invisible boogeyman that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right? But then they're like, wait, we got an election coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fuck. We told everybody they can't leave their house. What do we do? So then it's like, we got to send mail. You can mail. Vote by mail.
I don't know
To fix this problem. Instead of just being like, hey, you go to Walmart, right?
Well,
guys?
you've heard about...
Well, just go to vote too.
You've heard about the Nancy Pelosi becoming sitting president until this is all done.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So, like, if the president can't be picked, or there's some sort of something that happens and he's not sworn in,
sits there for a bit.
Speaker of the House takes over. Now, I don't know if that's the plan or that's a conspiracy theory people are saying. I don't know about it, but I do think mail-in ballots are not effective. I don't think that they're going to be able to be used.
That's the thing; they're already effective. Like, you have to request one.
Unsolicited ballots aren't effective.
Like, don't be sending that shit out.
No.
Like, okay, so they send a ballot to, which they didn't do this. Don't come after me, you know, in my small town in Vermont. So I live with Nana.
Yeah.
Nana's kind of, you know, getting old, and sometimes she doesn't know where she's at for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she gets a ballot, and I'm like, man, I really hate Trump, or I really hate Biden, right? So I fill in her answers, send it off, fill in my answers and send it off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if that happens on a small amount, that's too much.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's way too much.
Nana's
if
not going
one
to be
vote.
requesting a mail-in ballot if she doesn't
If she's
know
not
which
gonna
way
vote.
her pants going.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, there's way less potential for
Well, even
fraud.
then, I think you have to have a bunch more information. Like, it's not just a thing of passion. Like, oh, I can do this right now because it's easy.
Well, I've heard this thing that the left is wanting, because even when we were watching the debate, Biden said something about it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, it was like he was saying like, no, look, it's not fraud if someone, and he like looks into the camera and it's like,
Yeah.
someone, you know, filled in the information for their grandma because they were, you know, stuck in the house or this and that, and it was almost like he's saying, okay, young people,
Yeah.
take all these ballots from your
It just seems
from
like
your
bullshit.
so I can win.
Well, it's not like, even if it's not fraud, right? Even there's no fraud, which has been proven that there's been multiple voter fraud things throughout, even before this. Like,
It's just never been like something that swings 10%.
yes.
It's always just been
well,
really
even if it is
minute.
fraud, there's
just
no
doesn't-
fraud.
right, it just doesn't need to happen.
Let's say there's no fraud. Let's
Right.
say every mail-in ballot is perfect, everything's awesome. They lose mail all the time. And, like,
Right.
not only do they lose mail all the time, people don't mail it in correctly. People don't put the double envelope, or there might be a signature, they might fill in something wrong or whatever. And how many, if we're doing this on the scale of millions, how many people out of millions do you know 100% are going to fuck something up?
Right.
Or not mail it in time, or I
Or
don't
like,
fucking
have you ever
know.
tried
There's
to
so
order
many
something
things.
when it's close to Christmas,
Yeah, it's crazy.
and all of a sudden the mail system swapped,
Yeah.
and you get your thing like 15
Well-
days after Christmas? We don't need to not know who the president's going to be for. A
Well,
month.
not only that, we need to. We definitely need to know who the president's going to be, but not only that, that's a giant fucking deal that people aren't getting their fucking votes put in. Like, that's a massive fucking deal. It's not something that's small, and it's not something that's their fucking fault for fucking it up. Like, it's confusing probably how to do it all, but like, that's an important thing for us to make sure that people can do. And I don't see too many people fucking talking about that, like, safely, how to safely mail in vote. I don't see that as a giant news thing. Like, I don't see like any sort of help for people at all. It's just either we want all mail-in votings or we don't. Like, there's not even like,
Well, it's
they're not even
become like
explaining
every
how to
other
do it.
issue.
Yeah,
Like,
just crazy.
There's
just
no way
screaming.
that mail-in voting should be a partisan issue.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be determined, like, yes, we can do this, or no, we can't. And we live in a country where you have liberty, do it or don't, and just be done with it. Like, if it's something that needs to actually, if COVID is actually bad,
Yes.
and you need to do a thing, figure out the cost of doing the thing, and if it works, and if it does, then do it or don't. It shouldn't be like well, if you're for mail-in voting, then you're this side, and if you're against it, you're that side. But
It's
it's
just
just been
easy.
every other thing.
They could have been like, COVID's coming out, we need to prepare. If we're doing mail-in voting, then we need to prepare. Hey, everybody who thinks they're going to be doing mail-in voting, request it now. Request it. Because you
Right.
can request it, right? An absentee ballot, you can request it. And it could have been already done. But they didn't even try to do that. They went immediately to unsolicited ballots. Let's just send them out and see what happens. It's so they can argue the outcome of the fucking race no matter what happens. I mean, they ran Biden. Biden, the racist, like, it's the time of Black Lives Matter. It's the time of, like, police brutality against black people. It's the time of, like, all this terrible stuff that's going on. And they pick Joe Biden. He wrote that crime bill, I think it was like 1994 crime bill, that specifically targeted the black community. He was against segregation in schools and like busing for kids. He was like, I think he voted for the Defense of Marriage Act. So he's literally tried to stop gay marriage. Like, he's done fucking terrible things. Like, there's more. There's more. And there people are like, oh, well, he's changed now. He's a changed man. And it's like, oh, well, okay, well, what if someone
he's
used
only
that?
going to live for like a month after they elect him?
Yeah,
They
he
know
changed
that.
just like fucking everybody. Every politician changed when the fucking wind blows.
Yeah.
But you know what? I fucking see his history and I see the shit that he's done that was terrible. Why should we reward that with the presidency?
It's like if this is a pit bull that's been reformed but it says he's great around kids now, but he killed one a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. I'll buy that dog.
And then they pick a cop. So
That
like,
is,
are
odd.
they fucking? They're trying.
That is
to,
odd.
They're trying to lose the race. It's Donald Trump, the craziest fucking like insane man that's ever fucking lived in politics. Like he's ridiculous. He is an absurd fucking person. And for some reason the Democrats can't fucking find one candidate that's not just fucking the worst, like the worst thing that's ever happened. Like anybody who's just like this much moderate. Anybody that's just like, listen, he's a little bit crazy. We're not going to go full socialism. We're not going to go fucking burn the system down or whatever the fuck they're saying now. It's like, well, I just want to, maybe expand on Obamacare a little bit. And I just, I don't want to get into wars and stuff. And, yeah, that's going to be about it. Like, I'm not going to go crazy about this stuff, and I'm not going to go crazy on all these issues.
I would vote for something like that.
Yeah, like, I want to talk about it.
So there's going to be issues, and we will work through them in a way that both parties can figure something out.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of
How
sex
can't they do
trafficking,
that?
so let's
Yeah.
get rid of that. And then we'll work on that. It may take 8 years to do it.
Well, as soon as they're attacked by somebody on the other side, and they could be like, okay, well, listen, let's talk about your point of view. Instead of being like, you're fucking wrong, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just, there's no actual fucking point to anything that anybody's saying. And for them to pick fucking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they have to, like, I feel like they're throwing it away. They're like, there's no way we can beat Trump, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pick the shittiest of the candidates and maybe he'll win. Like...
Well, there's a conspiracy theory, basically. I don't know if it's full-on conspiracy theory, but it's basically a take on what's happening as they knew that Trump was going to win again just because they saw numbers and was like, well, look, this is probably going to happen again. Because now look how riled up these people are.
Yeah.
Because, like, people were talking about Trump and stuff before, but it wasn't this big, like, wildfire. Then he gets elected, and everybody's got that flag on the back of their big-ass truck in Vermont. And it's just crazy. And so now they're like, oh, fuck. Now they're energized. They're like, we can actually do it. They did it. Okay, so this is what we'll do. We'll just smear this guy for 8 years straight on purpose. Yeah. So we'll even let him go for a second go. Smear the shit out of him. And then now we'll have 8 years.
Probably, yeah. Well, I think they knew that it's harder for usually the sitting president. I think more than likely wins the second election.
Yeah, I think it's like what the past 30 or 40 years has been like that.
Yeah, so I think they did pick a shitty candidate on purpose. I don't think they picked the best one by any means.
That way, the next one it's like, look at this golden god.
Well, good luck finding anybody that's like, no, Joe Biden's the best pick that they could have had. Like everyone's like. Well, I mean, he's better than Trump. And I mean, if that's what you're fucking going for right now, it's better than Trump. It's like, you better have some good fucking arguments of why it's better, not why you're picking the worst choice that they could do, the one that they wanted to throw away. So you're telling me you're going to take their throwaway pick over somebody who was someone else's top fucking dog pick? Like,
it's like saying, like, okay, you have to go through the zoo, and the only way to go through it is there's an entrance that's a bear cage.
Yeah.
And there's an entrance that's a tiger cage, and you got to run through the middle of them.
Yeah.
It's like you got to pick which one you want. It's like, why is that an option? Like, why is that a thing? Like, can I just have, like, an entrance?
Yeah.
Or is there just another option that's, like, can I make this stop somehow?
That'll happen when more people start voting. That'll happen. I genuinely think that. I think when more people start voting and I think people need to get more informed, and I think we need to have an awakening on information and understanding that nothing's fucking real on the internet until it is. Like, for the most part, everything's fake, everything's wrong. You have to figure out what is right. You have to make sense of it. But my point that I was making with Trump is like, okay, I'm trying to come from this as a middle point. Like, I'm trying to say, okay, I don't want to vote for anybody. Now you need to tell me why I need to vote for your side. and
Yeah.
you need to tell me why I need to vote for your side, because that's how
That's
I've
always
been
worked.
looking for it. Well, that's how I'm looking at it, because I don't have any pick. Like, I'm leaning more towards Trump than Biden for sure for a vote. Like, let's say I was going to vote for the left or the right instead of voting for a third party. I'm leaning way more towards fucking Trump for so many other issues. Like, there's so many other things. It's like, for one, all the arguments against him is just Trump's bad. He's racist. He's sexist. He's whatever. And it's like, so is Biden on every occasion. Like, I need you to tell me why I should vote for your side. And then they're like, the Green New Deal. And I'm like, that's not a plan. That's just a list of goals that you said you want to get done that could cost anywhere between
That's the class president saying
40
like,
and
free-
$100
free
trillion
lunch for the next year.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Like,
40 or
wow.
$100 trillion. So, what the fuck are you talking about? 40 or $100 trillion in the next? I think it's
that's how politics has always worked, and I don't know why it's changed recently. Where it's
Yeah.
like, basically, it was two guys pleading.
Yeah, that's how it
pleading
should have
with
been.
You, the person, please vote for me because this is what I'm trying to do,
And now you're
and
just
I think that it's
standing.
important.
Now you're just there.
And now it's like there's a guy that comes out. It might as well be like a wrestling entrance where
Yeah.
there's like the smoke and then there's the confetti and there's
Yeah.
a guy going, oh yeah, look at me, you know who I am.
It's exactly what it is.
I was on TV. I've said a lot of stuff.
Like during my whole thing was during the debate. I think Biden brought up like the Green New Deal and said he didn't like it and he didn't want it, and then he brought up expanding.
He was like, I'm using part of it, but it's not the whole. Like the whole
Yeah.
thing isn't my platform.
It's the Biden plan. But he brought up expanding Obamacare, but he didn't explain how
Just
by any
expanding.
means. Just said that he wanted to expand it and do other things. And then Trump was fucking yelling into it. I couldn't fucking. It was awful. The whole thing was awful. But
I think if
there's
he
not
interrupted
there's
him
not any.
half as frequently, it would have actually been not bad.
Well, he shouldn't have interrupted them all at all because I don't think he has any fucking idea what he was talking about. Like, he would just say things. He was just like throwing out sentences of things he wanted to do, and then you're like, well, you didn't actually fucking explain anything. You're just saying things that you want to do. Like, how did you do that? What other kind of things are you coming through? Like, what are you going to come through for us on? What is happening? Please tell me, because you've told me nothing except for sound bites and talking about how Trump is racist.
Right.
I don't fucking care. Like, you are too, old man. You've passed actual racist laws, and I don't think that you've changed just because you were the vice president of a black guy. Like, I don't think that's going to affect the other 50 years of shit you've
I
done.
mean, that's like the whole thing right now is like if you've ever had a racist thought, you're like now racist, and like so like we're all just unfit at that rate. Everybody is.
Everybody, all
Everyone's
the time.
had a racist moment, and if you haven't, then like I want to hear your story.
Yeah,
What has your life been like?
I've never
If
thought...
if you've never had a racist moment happen. In your
Not
life.
even on, like, a weird accident or something that you didn't... Like, okay, even then,
Sometimes
you're racist on
someone's-
accident.
Sometimes you don't understand someone's culture.
Yeah,
And you make a mishap.
yeah. And they're like, that's fucking racist.
Like,
And you're like,
I can't
oh,
believe
no, yeah.
you didn't understand 100% of this person's culture on
Yeah.
at a glance.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Shit.
Sometimes our brains are imperfect, and we aren't born perfect, and we have to learn, and we have to muddle our fucking way through this shitty planet and this shitty world, and with all these rules, and nobody wants... I think for the most part, nobody wants to cause harm, or not a lot of people want to cause harm to each other by any means, but it happens, and you have to learn from it. But when it's so fucking, like, insane, the reactions behind it, nobody's learning from it. These people who are ignorant of this or ignorant of that, let's say people who are legitimately racist, they're not learning from you fucking going crazy on them.
Right.
I'm not saying it's a great thing for you to be racist by any
They're
means.
not trying to educate anyone.
Well, no, they're trying to shut them up, shut them
Not
down.
even that. They it's like, I've got one.
That too.
I got one. He's in the bag, look.
Target
got one.
acquired. Yeah, like fucking...
Because whatever happens to these people, if you could figure out where they work, they get fired. Because some a-hole from Twitter calls
Yeah.
their whatever and says like, look, this person
Yeah, I get
said the N-word on Reddit 7 years ago. It's like, okay, we get it. you know. Oh,
But
but yeah, like it's,
no, I mean, I think there should be.
everyone's had a bad moment. Basically, what they're saying is like, look, you can't elect this guy who's had bad moments.
Yes. Well, not
It's
even
like, well,
that.
okay, we'll
I'm
give
just
you
talking about
another reason,
people
though.
in general. Like, yeah, people in general now. It's just awful. But then even you're like, how is he racist? How is Trump racist? Please explain it to me. And they'll be like, he said bad things about Mexicans. I'm like, well, yeah, but everything I've seen on these videos, it seems like he's not talking specifically about Mexicans by any means, and I don't think he's ever said that. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've not seen it yet, but most of the time it's talking about literally gang activity across the border. Like, he's not saying anything bad about Mexicans literally at all.
A friend of a friend that I know's sister's brother was in a limo with him one time.
Yeah.
And heard him say.
Which what I'm
the
saying
problem
is,
with that argument though of doing that
Yeah.
is it works for Trump because you could believe it because he's so wild.
fuck, he
and
probably
out
did.
there.
That's my thing. He probably did. My whole thing is, but there's no fucking evidence of it, and it's such like people are making such stretches on these racism claims, not just with Trump, but with fucking everybody all the time. It's like it's the new hot word for anybody. It's like, oh, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist. Everybody's fucking racist now. It's like, how about we stop fucking talking about all this bunch of bullshit and stop classifying people in these fucking boxes and saying that these rules apply to these different people because of their skin color? Because I feel like that's fucking racist. Like,
Well, they're trying they're trying to basically change the definition of the word. Is what they're because everyone that's saying that the reason why this racism thing's popped up is there's a book where a guy basically was saying like the definition, the real definition of racism,
power.
is like an offset and power dynamic and this and that, and it's like,
Okay, so
no.
here's my thing. I've had that argument. I've heard that argument. And so by that, whoever's in power and whoever is the majority can't have racism against them, whatever race it is, because it's up to your skin color is the most important thing. So whatever race you are, you can't be racist. All right, so that means that when, let's say that something happens and the black population explodes and becomes the number one in 1,000 years, the black people are the number one race in America. So what you're saying is when black people are in power and they are the majority, I can just start dropping in bombs because I can't be racist, right?
I mean, that's if you use
So
logic.
I'm allowed to just drop in bombs when black people become the majority or the
if
powerful.
you use
above me.
logic, then yes.
It's like, no, that's a ridiculous fucking statement. I should never be able to be racist towards someone, and they shouldn't be able to be racist towards me, and nobody should be able to do that and be accepted in society.
If you extrapolate that down even further, because when they say it, they mean it as like the whole population, right? So the power dynamic is, white people on top, and then whatever
Yeah.
their classification is. I don't know the actual numbers, what they say, but so that's just the majority of people. Well, let's extrapolate it down then. So I work at a company where there's a black CEO, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just a cashier. So I'm going to call him every day and be like, look, the only reason I'm not a manager is because you're racist. This company's racist. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well, the
crazy.
argument for them is them saying
It's crazy.
that they're technically not the full in power over the whole thing or whatever. Like, just because you have a black boss doesn't mean that he's over
I'm
the
saying
power.
the
of you.
CEO of a company, it's not publicly traded.
Yeah,
It's a private ass company. He started it and built
Yeah.
it the fuck up.
I get it.
And
They're
I'm
gonna
working
argue-
for him. He's in total control of it.
Yeah.
He chooses whether
I
I
got
make
you.
money or
You're
not.
right.
So then I can just be blatantly racist. No. It's stupid.
You can't. Well, nobody should be able to. First off, stop fucking making racism a big deal anymore. Like, how about we just fucking mock people who are racist, laugh at them, give them no credence.
Which is what we've always done.
Yeah, just be like, you fucking crazy person, shut up. Like, you dismiss them. But instead it's like, put them in the spotlight, make them this big thing, destroy their lives, do all this bunch of evil shit. No one's fucking learning from that. No one's getting by it. Nobody should be fucking racist. But also, I feel like them being so crazy about racism is then making everyone fucking racist. Like, I feel like it's people look at a man and instead of saying, you're a man, Like, that's just a guy. They're going, that was a straight black male or whatever, or a gay
Whatever,
Asian,
it's whatever box I can put them in.
this. And like, because of this, these boxes or these labels that they're on, different rules of society apply to them? No, they're fucking people. We're all just people, and all rules should apply to everybody, and we should all just get along. And it's, the more emphasis you start putting on people's skin color, the more you're becoming racist and making everything about race. It should be the opposite. You should put no emphasis on skin color. It shouldn't matter. If a crime happens to a person, you should go, that was just a crime happening to a person. Like, one bad person hurt another person. We need to get to that point.